Hey, folks, it's Thursday night, and you know what that means. It's time to go behind the hedges. I'm Mitch,
This is Matt.
and we're going to be talking about the Vanderbilt Commodores tonight.
For a little
now,
bit.
now
I
I
ain't got
know.
a whole lot to say about Vandy.
Now I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. What can you possibly talk about when it comes to Vanderbilt? Well, we do have a couple of things now in the SEC this year. Correct me if I'm wrong here. There's 4 SEC teams who are having coaching changes going into 2021.
Yeah.
Auburn, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Vandy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So focusing on Vandy here, Derek Mason's gone after an 0 and whatever 8. See, did they play 8 games or 9 games? I don't even remember.
0-8.
They after an 0 first season, they canned Derek Mason. What did I tell you earlier? How many times had Vanderbilt had an 0 first season? You remember?
I think it was just last year. I think it was just that 1 year last year.
Let me see.
Are you? I believe
Since 2000. Since
they've won
2000.
like 86 games, 87 games total in
Right.
20 years.
Right.
And last year was the 1 year that they went winless. So I
Right.
mean, the only place to go from there is up.
So we've been talking the past few weeks about, well, we've talked about South Carolina and we've talked about Tennessee. And hey, first of all, before we get into this, I need to give a quick shout out to the Arkansas guys from last week. Dargan and Rohan came on last week and just did a jam up job. I had a super fun time with those dudes.
That was a fun show.
And I'm looking forward to having either or both of them back on any old time. So if you boys ever want to come on the show and give us a shout, man, we would love to have you. But anyhow, back to the task at hand. We've been talking the past few weeks about how South Carolina and Tennessee and Vanderbilt are all sort of in that same boat, and that is the bottom of the East. There's some pretty clear delineated tiers in the East, and you got Florida and Georgia in that top tier. You got Missouri and Kentucky in that second tier. And then you got South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vandy in that bottom tier. And so the object of the game, if you're in that bottom tier, is win that tier and try to get bowl eligible. So in order to get bowl eligible, you gotta have six wins. So I want to take a look at Vandy's schedule, and let's see if there are 6 wins on that schedule. All right. Let's see. Give me just 1 second here I thought I had that screen shared, but I guess not. There it is.
Can Vanderbilt go from winless to bowl eligibility? Man, I think you asked too much.
Well, I don't know if they can or not. Here's the schedule. Let's take a look here. So their first 3 games, they start off with East Tennessee. East Tennessee State. They got a couple of buddies who teach down there, so shout out to them. So East Tennessee State should be a win for Vandy, and I'm thinking that Colorado State is also a very winnable game for Vandy. Bobo ain't there no more. And then they round out their first 3 with Stanford. Stanford is coming all the way over to Nashville.
Stanford's still making noise in the Pac-12.
Not much, but they're making more noise in the Pac-12.
I asked because I forgot the Pac-12 existed.
Basically, I mean, they're making more noise in the Pac-12 than Vandy is in the SEC. But so I suspect that out of their first 3 games,
Orcs versus nerds. Now, why don't we just throw Georgia Tech in there and let them just have like a 3-way?
I think that Vandy used to have a rivalry with Tech at some point. They used to go at each other. I'd love to see that game again. And
whose horn rim glasses have more tape in the middle? Like what's the trophy for that one?
Pokemon cards.
Useless team.
So I see Vandy going 2-1 in their first 3 games. All right. Then you get down here into their next three. And of course, they start their SEC schedule with Georgia Bulldogs. And I'm going to be frank with you, Matt. Georgia is going to beat the soul out of Vanderbilt next year. They might beat them so. And look at that. They got their next SEC game is against Florida. So they got the top of their division to start the season off. They're going to get beat senseless. But sandwiched in there is the UConn Huskies, who, by the way, also have to come to Vanderbilt.
I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm not willing to give any of these teams even the cupcakes to Vanderbilt after what we saw last year.
Okay.
I tell you that Georgia has lost to Vanderbilt 3 times this century. Florida's only lost once.
Yeah.
This century. So if Vanderbilt becomes a complete doormat, I'm okay with that. We need a break in the SEC.
Well,
I'm ready for there to be games that I watch to relax. Instead of every game there being this gnawing feeling like, is this going to be like 2016 when Vanderbilt came into our homecoming in Athens and beat us? You know what I mean?
They beat Tennessee that year too.
Yeah, I'm tired of that. Like Vanderbilt and South Carolina, you mentioned them. Mm-hmm. They've been scrappy with us this last decade. I'm ready for these bottom feeders to learn their place and go back to their cast.
Well, I think you're about to see that, honestly. I think that those 3 teams are pretty well relegated to.
You know who's about to join them?
Oh, who's that?
Hold on.
Breaking news.
Oh, shit. Listeners, Mitch, news, notification. They just found Jimmy Hoffa's body.
Oh, is that right?
They just found Jimmy. 40 years, they just found it. Let me read this. Sorry to interrupt the show about football, but, Jimmy Hoffa, come on, this is important.
It's big news.
Authorities have found Jimmy Hoffa's body after 40 years of searching. The corpse was removed from a hole, and then to replace the body, the authorities placed the Tennessee Volunteers football program.
Yeah. So, did they release the location, or is that going to remain? That's
going to remain a dark secret, like a black hole where things go to disappear and die. They won't have colors anymore because they're getting sucked into a black hole. No light can escape. So Tennessee will sleep with Jimmy Hoffa now, or sleep with fishes. And I'm okay with that. I'd love to have 3 conference. Why not? I'd rather be Clemson light than try to trudge through the SEC. If we have an easy path to the playoffs and all we really got to do is get up for Florida and then make a trip to Atlanta, then so be it. So Tennessee and Vanderbilt and South Carolina, get where you belong. Down with the gnats and the fleas and stay there.
So I really think that this UConn team here is a very winnable game. UConn hasn't won a total of 10 games since Kirby got to Athens. So I got Vandy going 3-3 in their first 6 games, and then they get to the question marks here. All right. This is their final 6 games you see on the screen. They got them broken down 3, space, and then 3. So they got an off weekend early November. This 3 games of this 3-game stretch here with South Carolina, followed by Mississippi State, followed by Missouri. These are not world beater teams.
No, is it possible for 2 teams to tie a game at 0-0? That won't be Mississippi State. That won't be Mississippi State. But South Carolina versus Vandy, could it get to 9 overtimes? No one has scored. No one's crossed midfield, and they just go, we ain't got it.
And maybe they just play paper, rock, scissors at that point.
We ain't got your money. We ain't got it. I ain't got it. I ain't got the rent.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave.
Well, that one is in South Carolina, so I don't know. I mean, we know what South Carolina's losing. They're losing not only their coach, but they're losing a ton of players too, and off of a team that already wasn't very talented at all, off of a 2-win team from last year. So they're not going to be better. South Carolina is not going to be better in 2021. The question is Vanderbilt going to, if they stay the same, if there's, I don't know, Matt, this new coach is coming in, Clark Lee, from a defensive coordinator out of Notre Dame, right? Is it? Vandy had a quarterback last year, a freshman kid who, threw just shy of 2,000 yards, and they had a little sophomore running back that had close to 750 or so all-purpose yards. That's not awful in an 8-game season. You got to figure if he threw for 2,008, he's going to throw for 3,012. That's better than Jake Fromm numbers. So the question is can that team figure out how to tackle somebody, stop somebody? Because that was Vanderbilt's biggest problem last year. Out of all the problems they had, they never stopped a soul. People are still scoring touchdowns on 2020 Vandy. Not Georgia, because Georgia didn't get a chance to play them, but you know what I'm saying. Can Vandy beat the corpse of South Carolina? Can they beat the corpse of Tennessee? That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I don't know if they can. I don't know if those other teams though can beat a Vanderbilt. I don't. This is gonna be one of those situations with these 3 teams, but since we're on Vanderbilt, they'll be walking point for the conversation. It's gonna be wait and see. They're so bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody has an advantage. It's just gonna be. You can't even say, well, it's whoever blinks first. Dudes, all these teams do is blink.
Right.
On both sides of the ball.
But they don't even have eyes, so
yeah. I don't know what to say when you. I mean, it's like.
Well, I can say this: going into their final, halftime, halfway through their schedule, they played half their schedule. They've also played Georgia and Florida, which is undeniably the meat of their schedule. They play them right up in the front half. This team is going to come out of that part of their schedule 500, 3-3. You got. I mean, if I'm a first year coach and we're playing for the new guy and we just went through the meat of our schedule and we're 3-3, we're still standing. Got to feel a little bit inspired. You know what I'm saying? And then you got a 6-game stretch that starts with South Carolina and ends with Tennessee. And in between those 2 games, you don't really have a team on there that just absolutely blows you away. Now, don't get me wrong. Missouri and Kentucky are better than Vandy. Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Well, Ole Miss for sure is better than Vandy. Mississippi State should be better than Vandy, but Vandy might not know that. You know what I'm saying? They might not. So what I'm trying to say here is that they start the first half of the season with 3 wins. Can they finish the second half of the season with 3 more wins and get bowl eligible? And if so, where are those 3 wins?
If Eastern Tennessee State beats Vandy, is it considered an upset?
Yes.
Why?
They're not a Division I program.
Neither was Appalachian State. They went into Big House and beat Michigan. That's an upset.
And that was an upset, right?
This is Vanderbilt, who didn't win a game last year. It's not the same. That's not the same dynamic. You can be Power 5 and be horrible, and I think that's what we're dealing with.
Let me look up something. Eastern Tennessee State University Buccaneers.
I didn't even know that was a school. So don't ask me.
Well, I can tell you this: they are a school that went 1-7 in their conference last year. Their conference that was won by Wofford.
But hold on. Remember when Nicholls State was they had been anointed the worst team in all of college football?
Mm-hmm.
Then they came into Athens and made us sweat bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Tennessee may not know that their group of, or what are they, FCS?
They are. No, they play in the Southern Conference, so they are Yeah, I guess they're FCS.
They may not know that.
Yeah. They finished 2 games behind Mercer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can tell you what. If Vandy does lose that game,
Yeah.
Then I would like to trade them out of the SEC.
I might like to trade them out anyway, but the fact is They shouldn't lose that game. If they do lose that game, then all this conversation, all this what if, we're trying to find 6 wins out of 12 games. I can find what I would call 3 almost certain wins, 2 very winnable games, and then if you're going to get that 6th one, you're going to have to beat somebody. You're going to have to earn it.
The screen we're looking at right now, I believe Mississippi State, I believe Missouri and Kentucky will win.
I agree.
Comfortably. I also believe Ole Miss will win comfortably.
I think of Ole Miss and Kentucky as being about the same strength. They're
Mississippi State. It'll depend on which Mississippi State we get. We get the ones that went there and lit up LSU for 1,000,000 yards, then that's going to be a blowout. If it's the Mississippi State that forgets they have thumbs, winnable. Because Mike Leach is feast or famine. There's no like middle ground. There's no like tough, gutsy, hard fought wins. He either beats your ass or they come out, flip the coin, and he walks his team back to the bus.
I'm just going to pull it up. Well, let's see. I was trying to pull up this Mississippi State football schedule here. All right, so who do they start with? They got Louisiana Tech. They should win that. They should beat NC State. They should maybe beat Memphis. I don't know. Then they got LSU, Texas A&M, and Alabama back to back before they play Vandy. Man, that's a meat grinder right there, Matt.
They may be hit by injuries by the time they get out of those 3.
Yeah, so Vanderbilt is catching them apparently at the best possible time. You know?
Yeah, LSU, A&M, and Alabama. Imagine having that as part of your schedule. My God.
And back to back weeks. So, you know, can Vandy squeak out a win here? It this primed for the taking, right? It would seem that this is if they're going to do it, this would be the week to do it, right? When else would you rather play Mississippi State? You know, I would rather get them right after they've gone through that murderer's row. You know,
and Tennessee.
They finished the season with Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee does have Cade Mays and Big Cat Bryant.
I saw where the headline today was that they had hired a defensive line coach. They don't have T. Martin anymore. And
they ran off T. Martin and Philip Fulmer, the last coach and player who remember them winning a national championship. Both of them gone. I don't know, man. Tennessee almost feels like a Soviet bird. It feels like a mafia family cleaning house. I don't know. Like, they're trying to find a new identity. Who are you trying to be? And Josh Heupel's the one's going to get you there? I think we went too easy on the Tennessee boys. Y'all, Tennessee's, I'm going to say Vandy going to get that ass.
I'm not as concerned about South Carolina's ability to recover as I am about Tennessee's ability to recover, simply because South Carolina doesn't have as far to go to get back to their expectations, which ain't much.
They also don't have like NCAA violation.
Right. We don't know the complete fallout of the Tennessee.
Speaking of which, I mean, Tennessee dumpster fire with the violations and all the transfers and the whole thing. Dumpster fire. South Carolina, dumpster fire. Although a lot of what happened to them was attrition and kind of tragic in a way with COVID and that kind of stuff. And then firing the coach and losing recruits. But still dumpster fire. But when we talk about SEC dumpster fires, with the news that broke last week, one must stand in awe, in complete awe of what may be coming down the pipe for the LSU Tigers, since they might be catching a Clary Act violation?
Yes.
But that could be some jail time.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what, and help me out if I mess this up, Clary Act basically says that if a crime is committed on your campus, then you are obligated to make it public. Like, you have to let everybody know there was a murder, there was a rape, there was whatever, there was a robbery. It goes public, right? And apparently there was some sexual assault
allegations against two players, Darius Geis and Drake. Drake. Somebody. Look it up. I can't remember his last name. He's a DP, I think.
And so there's sexual assault allegations that came to light, or actually they didn't come to light, which is why there was a Clary Act violation. For whatever reason, the university decided to handle it internally. However you want to, and then of course, the NCAA gets involved. They start poking around, and of course these receipts get pulled. And you guys knew about this, and so who knows what's going to happen at LSU too? That's a whole nother. You take the ribbon off that box, you're never going to get it all packed back in there.
That could affect federal funding.
Yes,
there could be criminal prosecution.
Yeah.
So if you're ignorant to what's going on, if you're an LSU fan who's ignorant or in denial, you need to do your research. And if nothing comes of it and they're clean, fine, they're clean. It's still a bad look that it even got to this point. But if there are Clary Act violations at LSU, you can forget the death sentence. It's going to be worse than that. It's going to be, they may burn the building down and just sprinkle salt over the ashes and then bury the ashes.
Right.
Which you hate to see it.
Don't you? I mean, maybe that's, it's like, you remember that scene in Conan the Barbarian when the wizard's telling Valeria that the spirits exact a heavy toll. And so she says, bring him back anyway. So you win a national championship, spirits exact a heavy toll.
You got to reveal those sexual assault crimes. You got to do it.
Or better yet,
and Ed Orgeron's the one named in this, just so we're clear. So, or
better yet, just don't sexually assault people. We could just do that.
I mean,
I'm trying to make light of it.
That's another way to go.
So I want to get off the schedule here. We seem to be in agreement that Vandy should start the first half of their season with 3 wins, and they have a chance. They have a chance to win 2 of their last half of their season, and maybe squeak out another one. I mean, I'll root for them against Mississippi State. You know what I mean? I'd like to see them get bowl eligible.
Once we beat Vandy, I'll be rooting for them for the rest of the season.
It would be really funny to see them get bowl eligible and South Carolina and Tennessee not. Or what if that last game of the season that they play against Tennessee is the game that Tennessee needs to get bowl eligible?
Could be.
So I got something else I wanted to show you, Matt. I did a little, graphing today. How do I do this?
Fun. Everybody's favorite, graphs and spreadsheets.
It is mine. There's some Vandy trends here against South Carolina and Tennessee. So
you better explain this, because I don't know what the hell this means.
Yeah, so this is a breakdown starting in 2015 going through 2020 of point differentials between South Carolina and Tennessee. And just so everybody knows, the blue line is South Carolina, the red line is Tennessee, and this line going straight down the middle is the 0-0, the 0 line. So this is point differential. All right. So what I'm saying here is in 2015, Tennessee won the game against Vanderbilt by 25 points. But hold on one second. Yes, baby. Okay. Matt, hold on one second, buddy.
Oh, well, the floor is mine. Folks, if you know what any of this shit right here means, feel free to leave a comment after you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at. Why just put the scores up of the game so I know who won and who lost? 2-18, 24. I don't know this shit. South Carolina versus Tennessee. That's That's going to be another fun one. They might tie at 0 too. I don't know.
All right, sorry about that, guys.
What are you showing us here? Is this
All right
trajectory?
Yeah, so over the past 5 or 6 years, so starting at 2015 over here on the left side of the screen and going to 2020 on the right side of the screen, you can see that Vandy started in 2015 with a 25-point loss to Tennessee, followed by an 11-point win in 16, an 18-point win in 17, 25-point win in 18.
They won 3 in a row?
They won 3 in a row against Tennessee.
Oh, whoa. I thought your boy, the genius, was talking about the annual
I corrected him.
Tennessee beat down of Vandy. I don't seem annual to me.
You're right. So you can see this little hump over here that humps over that middle line, that middle horizontal line. Those are games that Vandy won, and then it starts to trend back downward here. And so Tennessee got back to a 25-point victory in 2020. Now, you'll notice that South Carolina stays on their side of the line. They don't ever go up on they don't ever go up on Vanderbilt's side of the line, which means that Vandy hasn't beaten South Carolina since at least 2015 and probably some time back. I think they won. I think that I saw where South Carolina had won 12 in a row against Vandy, but you see that Vandy gets them awful close. Here's a 3-point loss, 7-point loss, 23-point loss, and a 17-point loss. And then this past year, South Carolina beat them by 34. So I guess what I'm trying to show here is that there is a downward trend here, meaning that Vanderbilt has gotten farther and farther away from those two teams this past season and the past couple seasons, right? Since 2018, Vanderbilt has, gotten farther away from those two teams. Now, all 3 of those teams have coaching changes. Vanderbilt doesn't seem to have the attrition that the other 2 teams have. And if they're going to win these 2 games, this is the gap that they have to close. That's all I'm trying to show you. So is this gap closable given what we know that these 2 teams are losing? I don't know the answer to that.
It's so hard. You can't because you have new coaching staffs.
Right.
At all 3 teams. You don't know what any of these 3 teams are going to look like. None of them. Right. You can't make predictions.
So let's say this. Shane Beamer, Clark Lee, Josh Heupel. Which one would you rather have right now? If you had to pick one of those to be your head coach, which would you rather have?
If I had to pick one of those 3? Mm-hmm. I don't know enough about Clark Lee. I don't know anything about him other than he was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame.
Beamer, we played Notre Dame. We played Notre Dame 2 times in 4 years.
That doesn't tell me about his head coaching act. These are impossible questions to answer. It's going to have to be a wait and see. I can't pick one of those 3 because I don't know. I mean, Beamer coached for us. He was our tight ends coach. Does that mean you're ready to make the call on him? Can't be. You can't. You don't have enough information on these. Heupel was Central Florida, right? Mm-hmm. We know that he took over a team from Scott Frost, and they have gone downhill. So I'm going to X Heupel off.
I would put him as 3rd of those 3.
The other 2, I don't know. I don't know enough about him. Maybe I would just pick Beamer because I have more familiarity with him.
Well, you're picking a known tight ends coach versus maybe an unknown defensive coordinator to us, but he's certainly known enough to know that Notre Dame's been in the playoffs 2 of the past 4 years, and the 2 years they didn't make it is because they lost to us, and they lost to us in very close games. So, and they held Georgia, they suppressed Georgia's offense in those 2 games. So, I agree with you. It's a toss up between Beamer and Lee. But would you rather be either one of those leading a Vanderbilt team that appears to be returning its strength, or leading a South Carolina team that appears to be returning absolutely no one?
No, I think I'd rather lead the Vandy team. There's nowhere to go but up for Vandy. There's still room to fall for Tennessee and South Carolina. They did win some. They did win some games last year. As bad as they were, things are worse. Things could get worse for them. You can't get any worse than a winless season. So Vandy can't get any worse. They might repeat it as worse. It just makes it static.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only one direction to go for Vanderbilt. That's up. I'd rather take that than these other two, who are trending down. Especially Tennessee. Tennessee came in off that 6-game win streak. They were the sexy upset pick against Georgia, and then they sat down in the middle of the street, doused themselves with gasoline, and lit a match.
Basically, yep.
South Carolina, again, more of a tragic situation. COVID, opt-outs, injuries, and it just snowballed. Now they're in a funk, and they got rid of their coach, and then the transfers and the decommitment. They're trending downwards. Maybe not because it's a bad program or they made some terrible decisions. Just it was a series of unfortunate events.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything to do with either of those situations. I'd rather just have you got curb stomped last year, Vandy. You won no games. You have nowhere to look but up. There's still room for Carolina to look down.
Mm-hmm.
Same for Tennessee.
What was it? South Carolina won 2 games last year, and Tennessee won 3. Is that right?
Yeah. So again, there are still rungs of the ladder beneath you.
Mm-hmm. Now you got to ask yourself the question: is Tennessee or South Carolina, are either one of those teams better than last year or worse than last year?
You'd have to say for Tennessee worse. They came in like there were some expectations.
Mm-hmm.
There was some scuttlebutt. There was some optimism about Tennessee. Carolina was just kind of coasting along, and then the bottom dropped out. I would say they'd have to be worse off. They lost a lot. New coach. Other than Ohio, if your name's not Ryan Day, typically your first year as a head coach has got some bumps.
Mm-hmm. So 2 of those teams are definitely trending downward, and one of them, worst case scenario, is static, like you said. We'll see. I mean, the fact of the matter is that within grasp, all those teams need to beat the other 2 of those teams. You know what I mean? In order to be able to check that box. You know, we talk about expectations all the time. Any Tennessee fan or South Carolina fan, and no Vandy fan is going to do this, but any fan of those other teams that comes here and say, "Oh, we're going to win the East and we're going to win the SEC and we're going to the playoffs," look, no, you're deluding yourself. There's expectations. All right, the expectations for all 3 of those teams right now is just don't lose to the other 2. Right, that's it. And if you can get bowl eligible, then that's like the second box. Check the second box. You know. First box is don't get beat by the worst teams in the world. Second box is let's see if we can get bowl eligible, you know. And right now, I think that Vandy is close to checking that second box. And to be frank with you, that's about all I got to say about that. You know?
I was out of gas before we start. Like when we get to teams in this position, and it's not my team. You know, if this were Georgia in this position, I'd have an hour to rant and rave and drool and like foam at the mouth. I don't give a shit. Suffer. Suffer for your crimes, Vanderbilt. Suffer for your crimes, South Carolina. Suffer for your crimes, Tennessee. I hope it does. It hurt? Does it hurt? Like from RoboCop. Yeah, suffer. I don't give a shit.
Good night, sweet prince.
I'm glad. I hate peace. I hate the word as I hate you and everything else. All 3 of those teams. I'm tired of like Carolina being a thorn in our side. I'm tired of Vanderbilt getting scrappy every 3 years and like sneaking in with a win. Tennessee, well, you know how I feel about Tennessee. At one time, they were up there with the Florida Gators. So, yeah, get down there in the muck and roll around. You know what I mean? Big picture is we're in a different world now. Georgia's on a different level. You know, we have goals and aspirations that these fans and these programs can't fathom right now. If I see any mouth breathing Tennessee fan on any message board even attempt to say they're going to do anything other than suck this year, that's it. I'm gonna start the revolution right here. If you're wearing orange, you will be rounded up and put into re-education camp. Not having it. I ain't having it. I'm not having it. I got a handbook from China on how to do that.
Stop.
Well, that's where you're going. I'm not listening to your shit this year. This is what I'm getting at. Every year, no matter how bad Tennessee is, and we all know they're that bad, you hear, Margo, boy, we beat your ass in the 90s, and we're the powerhouse program. This is it. We're back. Jim Chaney was the dagger in your heart. We stole Jim Chaney, and that's the dagger in the heart of the Georgia machine. Shut up. That's the one I want to rub in your face the most. Is Jim Fat Fuck Chaney. Can't stand it.
Hey,
Can't stand it.
I'm gonna need to cut it off, Matt. Let's talk again next Thursday night, 9:30. How's that sound?
Who you want to go after this year? Next.
Let's talk off air. I don't want to get into it. Ready?
Sure.
Good night, buddy.